Hey, I want to give a shout out to my friend Susan Winterstein. You may know Susan from her 2 podcast appearances here, episodes 164 and 717. In these episodes, Susan told us about her charity that she founded, Savvy Giving by Design. Now she has introduced the Savvy Giving Design Coalition. The mission of both of these is to bring comfort and hope to families by transforming kids' rooms into healing sanctuaries. Previously, in order to help Savvy Giving by Design, you could open a chapter in your own area and then design spaces for children in your area that are in need. Now, with the Savvy Giving Design Coalition, you can contribute and impact the lives of these children without taking on the beginning of an entirely new chapter. Savvy Giving Design Coalition operates through the collective efforts of you, the designer, as well as sponsors and volunteers. This organization is making a real difference in these children's lives, and you can help now in whichever way feels right for you. I encourage you to listen to Susan's 2 episodes to learn more, and then visit their website at savvygivingbydesign.org/design coalition. We'll also put that in the show notes. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your 5th time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. Up on the show today, I'm very pleased to have with me Erika Ward. Erika Ward is a passionate entrepreneur, spokesperson, speaker, and philanthropist. Erika worked in the design build industry as an accountant before turning her passion for interior design into a successful business. Named by the Atlanta Tribune as having one of the top design firms for 2 consecutive years, Erika is a highly sought-after expert whose work has appeared in House Beautiful magazine, Better Homes and Gardens magazine, Fox 5, Huffington Post, HGTV.com, and many others. Her influential voice in the home improvement sector has led to marketing collaborations with Home Depot, S.C. Johnson, and Home Decorators Collection. Erika has an undergraduate degree from the University of Georgia and resides in Atlanta with her husband and 5 children. With her sharp business acumen and design prowess, you can rest assured that she is one to watch as a voice for working mothers, women entrepreneurs, and interior design enthusiasts. And right after this word from our sponsor, we get to meet Erika. Before we meet today's guest, I want to remind you our podcast is proudly sponsored by Cravat Inc., featuring CuratedCravat.com. CuratedCravat.com is a unique interior design platform that gives you access to products that you can't get anywhere else. And best of all, they sell only to the trade. That's right. And it's so easy with no minimums and that cravat quality that you've come to know and rely on. Check them out at CuratedCravat.com. I know you won't be disappointed. Well, good morning, Erika. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I really appreciate your taking the time out to be here with us.
Good morning, LuAnn. I'm so glad to be with you this morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to have you on the show. I've told you a little bit in our discussions how impressed I am by your business. I found you on Instagram, and from there I went to your website, and you are, a rock star, have to say.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that.
I mean, for people out there listening, you have almost 8,000 followers on Instagram, almost 1,000 followers on House, 4,000 followers on Facebook. Twitter, I think, is at like 9,000 followers or something, right? Yeah. So for somebody that has, spent a little bit of time in each of these areas trying to build those, I'm very well aware of how remarkable that is. It's not just, that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen with, oh, by the way, maybe we'll grow our Instagram account.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm very excited.
Very organic. Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited to sort of get into the nitty gritty about that. So tell me, so let's start there. Tell me about building that whole social media platform for yourself. How did you go about it?
Well, sure. So I started my blog back in like maybe 2009, 2010. And it was just a blog at the time. And then I gradually added on the other social media channels, I think the first being Twitter and then Facebook. And so what I think I did to actually grow that was just really share pertinent information to people about matters that they really cared about some of their design dilemmas. I would tweet tips. So let's say I did a top 5 tips on how to, transform your bedroom to a romantic oasis. I'd tweet one tip, then put tip number 2, tweet the next one. And so with Twitter, there are some people that are there looking at it in real time. And then there's others that'll come back and kind of look to your feed because they know you give out this type of information. So I think consistency would be the first thing that I would think would be attributed to my success on social media, and relevance, just making sure that, we stay on topic, because if somebody's looking at my profile and see that I'm an Atlanta-based interior designer and design enthusiast, that's the type of information that they're looking to see on my feed.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to tell you, though, here's what it does. I'm going to tell you the first thing that crosses my mind with it. It makes absolute sense, as I said. But what I know is the execution of it is a whole different animal. So it's one thing to say, oh, put a tip out and this and that and the other thing. But finding the time, making the time to do that while you are running a big interior design firm. Do you do it yourself? It sounds like you. Yeah, it sounds like you.
I've always done my own social media push, because I want people to hear my voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that if I had someone else do it, I don't know if it would translate quite as well. So I use various apps. In the beginning, I used something called TweetDeck, where you could actually schedule your tweets. But currently I use a program called CoSchedule, which allows me to use it as an editorial calendar for the blog, and then allows me to promote those blog posts that day it goes live, the next day, a week out, and then months out, And so I think about something that I may have written in December. It's going to definitely be, it's considered evergreen content, meaning that it's good, again, next December.
Right.
And so I go ahead and schedule it for the next year, because I know it's going to be something that people are interested in. The other thing that I do is I kind of repurpose content. So let's say that I wrote a blog post about a particular topic, then I'm literally pulling information out of that post and publishing it, on Twitter, pulling those tips and those takeaways from those blog posts. And I oftentimes even look through comments, that readers have made, and I see, okay, well, they would have loved to have more information about, you know, pinch pleated drapery, for example. So then maybe, one of my tweets would be given the definition of what that is. Because if one person doesn't know, I mean, there are other
Right.
people who don't know either. So, and I think that also goes back to kind of listening to your audience, and they're literally telling you, what they need, what they want, and being able to answer to that call, answer that need.
Yeah. And again, I have to say, so tell us about, do you have it? I understand the system of, the co-schedule and so forth, but
Yes.
do you have a system for actually creating the content? In other words, is it Monday, I'm an interior designer and I do project work, and Tuesday I wear my business hat and I take care of my accounting, and Wednesday I'm a social media,
Yes.
like because that to me is the most perplexing part about it. I feel like I've struggled with it with Window Works as well, because I believe what you say too, as far as sounding like you and being you. I feel like I know you, and I know that I'm just really actually meeting you for the first time today, but having followed you for several months, you're a person to me. I love
Right.
your personality. I think, you're warm and you're gracious and you're smart and all of those things. But it's the truth. In order for me to really get that depth of understanding of your person and your business and what everything you are about, that's a lot of time in there. So tell us about the time, how you
Okay,
do
sure.
that. Yeah.
So ideally, I handle most client interactions and whatnot on Monday. After the weekend, people kind of want to see you,
Mm.
So I make rounds on Monday, if you will. And then Tuesdays are usually my office days where I'm actually, and I do majority of my own accounting, but I'm looking to outsource that quite soon. But so, a lot of the business of design is just the business part, you know what I mean? And just
Right.
managing that piece. But social media, I try to schedule time for that on Wednesdays. And it does not mean that all my posts go out on Wednesdays. It means that my scheduling happens then on Wednesdays.
Right.
And it's nice to have a framework or a plan, for your time. It doesn't always happen the way that I plan, but at least it's something that I can always refer back to if I feel like I'm off track. But, some of the things that I want to share are happening in real time. And I think that is the beauty of social media as well, is that you don't have to wait to talk about, some amazing artists that you discovered, only on Mondays. If you want to share with them as, you're learning about it, then you could pop on a video, and start recording whatever it is that you see at any given time. So, I mean, I try to use Wednesdays as my dedicated time, but if I feel the need to share, the push or the desire to share something in real time, then I just do. I just
Right. But
Mhm.
Wednesday is where you're sitting down and you're coming up with the thoughtful content. I thought that was an interesting idea, that you might write a full blog post and then, rather than tweet the entire blog post, which I guess you probably do as well, but you
Yes.
then pull it down even further and tweet one tip, a day or whatever in addition. That's pretty clever.
I think also a great way to grow your social media following is to support others, as well. There is a wonderful community of designers here in Atlanta, in which we've kind of made our connections first via social media, and then, of course, meeting in person at these various events. And then, even going as far as to promoting something that they're in, or congratulating them on some great accomplishment, and just really having a genuine, that's how you establish relationships,
Mm.
just being a genuinely supportive person, and being able to acknowledge them publicly without feeling that there's any threat, in, reducing the amount of business that you get, because we all are doing the same thing in the same city. But I don't feel like me congratulating or promoting another designer in my city is going to take away from my message, if you will.
Oh, I agree. Definitely. There's always enough work for everybody to go around, and
Yeah.
the more you are, like you said, positive and promoting and sharing of other people's stuff, it always comes back to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not, and I never do it with that intent in mind. It's just
Right.
that I'm genuinely like pleased or happy or wanting to share some good work that someone else has done.
Yeah, it's like a high five to a colleague.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And people feel really good when you acknowledge them publicly, and because a lot of us work, as solopreneurs and maybe we're one, two, three people show, and you may not have that person in your office to say, hey, you're really doing a great job, but you do have this virtual community that's acknowledging you and giving you kudos.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody works, we're all working hard, and it's
That's
always
right.
nice for somebody to notice it, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
It was
That's
so
right.
funny. I can't remember where I came across this statement one time, but it was some, very deep discussion on the concept of lifelong companionship, whether for somebody it would be marriage or whatever form that it takes. And I remember the person said that it's that we gravitate towards it as human beings because you have a desire to have your life witnessed by somebody else.
That's powerful. That really
Right? And
is.
I just thought that was so insane, and it was just so true. And I thought, well, that's what I'm doing with like my husband and my children. I'm witnessing their life and I'm saying, yeah, that was great, you did that, and then you get that same feeling back. I thought that was pretty, and like you said, powerful. It was intense.
That is. That
And so then
is.
you do it on a level for friends and for colleagues, and I love that. And you know what? It's funny because I'm kind of letting the conversation go down this end, which is sort of off business topic,
Hmm.
technically, but it's because it's what comes through in following all of you on all of your stuff on social media. I definitely genuinely get that giving nature that you're describing. It's real, and I
But I think
acknowledge
it
it.
still does relate to business because if you think about, certain businesses, nonprofit ventures, if you will, there's always some place or some group of people in place that focuses in on community affairs,
Mm-hmm.
or giving back. And because that's what I just think you're supposed to do. We aren't created here to just be, a reservoir. We need to be kind of a distribution center, and the
Right.
more you give, the more you give back. I mean, the more you get back, and it's just reciprocated over and over again. So I do think that that is kind of a business concept or business rule or business practice. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah,
A good
definitely
business
agree.
practice for sure.
Definitely agree. So, okay, so I know that I really think that the whole thing about creating such a social media platform as you have done is really just about the week in and week out work. It's sitting down, scheduling some time, like you said, a day that works. And I'm sure sometimes something comes up with a client or an employee or something that you have to change it, but sort of like you said, just keep it as a touchstone. Like Wednesdays, I do this, and then little by little, it will grow and it will
But that's the
happen.
beauty of being able to schedule it because I don't, I guess as you know, I also have 5 children and a husband. And so,
You're just a
I
little busy.
there are a lot of balls in the air. So being able to schedule it and kind of put it on autopilot, if you will, allows me to be able to put my phone down
Yeah.
and really be present for my family as well. Because, we are our businesses and it just doesn't stop. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if I can use those scheduling tools, it helps me to be able to break away for a while and be able to focus, completely on those people that matter most to me and my family.
Yeah, yeah, and that's definitely important. That's where you recharge and get the juice to go again the next day, right?
Yeah, or even just for yourself, to
Yeah.
be able to go and take a nap. Just have some quiet time.
Wait,
Yeah,
sleep?
right.
5 kids, huge business, sleep?
Oh yeah, I get a full night's rest every night. I
Good
sure
for
do.
you.
Yes.
Good for you. So, the thing about your business also is that, as I said in the introduction, you come from a finance background and real world business experience and
Oh
running
yes.
multi-million dollar contracts and so forth.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, talk to us a little bit about how you take those lessons and those things and that part of your life and help it make your business successful?
I'm going to be very transparent with you, LuAnn, to tell you that was one of the things that I think I was most insecure about coming into the design world is not having that formal background, and my background being more so from a business or financial standpoint. But I will tell you that is the biggest asset. The thing that I thought would be the thing that's like, I guess crippling is the thing that really has made me most successful is having that business background, or else I would be a starving artist. And that phrase comes from somewhere, right?
Right, right. It's the
And
truth.
yeah, it's the starving artist, not starving accountant. You follow me? And so coming from the finance background, I worked for in the design build industry, and we managed construction contracts. I manage the budgets. Okay. So I'm already familiar with walking the job with the project managers, or even in some cases, I was the project manager, working with subcontractors, reading plans, making sure that things get done in a timely manner, and making sure that each of these individuals gets paid. So that in itself is something that I had down pat from prior experience. The other part that had to be learned from me, I think part of creativity is definitely innate, but then there's a lot of it that also has to be learned. And so I did have some coursework in interior design, but I think a lot of it came from doing. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And I think communication is a huge, huge thing for people. And it's being able to not just to communicate a design or helping somebody see the vision, but helping somebody to see the value in investing in your vision, okay? And not just the value in the pocket, but just how it's going to help you and your family and how the life that you live and how you entertain and just go and do and be, and the pride that you have in your home, and just kind of being able to see visually the fruits of your labor, not just from a fancy car that you're driving, but being able to see that your surroundings have been made beautiful because of the hard work that you've put in outside of the home. And so we oftentimes, and I mean, nothing's wrong with a good vacation, but when I come home and I go have a seat in my backyard or whatever, I feel like I'm on a retreat, without even having to leave my house. And so, but getting back to the how the business played a part in that, I looked at my transferable skills, and I give this advice to many other people who have sent me emails or had phone calls or even contacts via social media through Periscope. More specifically, is I've given people ideas on how to take their transferable skills. Those are skills that you've learned on the job, as hobbies, as a volunteer. All of those things that you've learned or are innately good at, figuring out how those apply to whatever field that you're trying to break into, and really capitalizing on those and doing those really well.
Right. So if you're identifying like yourself as having strong project management skills and understanding that the budget is the budget isn't a fake number or a fluid number, it's the budget, and you're talking about bringing those in, and you want to create a beautiful room or a beautiful home for somebody, but when you have a talk about budget, it's real, and stick to it, and then you're earning that client's respect and probably continued business and referrals because they know that they can count on you to manage the business side of the project responsibly.
That's right. And so being able to also communicate with the client, we can use words like budget and value engineering and all these other types of, let's say jargon for lack of better
Buzzwords.
words, buzzwords. Yeah. But if I tell somebody I spend your money like I spend my money, that resonates with them because
Right.
they know that I'm not spending their money frivolously, and the things that I'm recommending are things that I genuinely think they should get, or things that I think they should really invest in. If I say, LuAnn, you know, I totally get all your concerns are. I spend your money the way that I would spend my own money. And if they have respect for you and your business, and obviously if they've done their homework prior to meeting with you in person, that speaks, that gives them a lot of comfort in knowing that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And I'm going to say this, and I believe it to be a compliment, and I hope that you take it this way, but
Okay.
okay.
Myself. Okay.
It's an interesting flip on the head. So, for instance, what I'm understanding is that if we were just to say something in a broad description of 3/4 experience to 1/4 experience. So we're going to say in a broad measure that 3/4 of your experience, truthfully, is in business and project management and finance, and 1/4 of your experience at the outset of your firm, certainly not at this point, was interior design experience. And
yes, at the very beginning.
okay, so here's what I think is the focus, and what I'm trying to get across with the podcast is that there are so many interior designers out there that it's exactly the reverse. It's 3/4 of interior design experience and 1/4 business/finance experience. And the reality is that that's not the right mix. The right mix is the other way. You're exactly proof of somebody who has created a phenomenal interior design firm, which, you know, when you started out, somebody, like you said, it was the thing that you were most apprehensive about, might have said, oh, I'm not sure you've got the right recipe for success here. But you're proving the point of the podcast. If you don't know the business end of it, you're not designing a business. So think about if there's colleagues out there that are like, well, that's just awesome because, you know, now that I have 2 degrees in interior design and no business degree, you know, am I done? So of course they're not done, right? What would you say to somebody who says, all right, great, but now I don't have that finance degree. How do I enhance this part of myself and build up my firm to be responsible and productive that way?
Sure. I think it's, you know, you can always outsource that type of thing, but even when you outsource, it's still your responsibility to make sure that person isn't taking you for a ride. You know what I mean? Because of your lack of knowledge. But I think about this, just as you would go to any kind of continuing education class for your design firm, why not do something like that for your business as well? So we're talking about investing in yourself. It's not just investing in, you know, how to be a better designer. It's also how to be a business person. You follow what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so it works both ways. And so conversely, for me, my continuing education classes are heavily on design and decoration and construction, not construction, renovation, not so much the business side, but, you know, but the person who is weak in those business areas should focus their continuing education on business matters like that.
You know, that's a pretty interesting thing because, you know what, I think that any designer that comes across information, an article, a conversation that suggests that they should take continuing education units in design doesn't even question it. But how many of them actually think what you just suggested? Okay, so you've got that at the end of it down. Don't just wish you knew how to do the business end of it. Go figure it out. Go take classes. Go do it.
That's right. And then, I mean, there's no excuse as to why somebody can't do something these days. I mean, especially when you have virtual education and you can learn things online, or like we talked about prior to the start of the interview, podcast, just like yours, where you can glean bits and pieces of information and you read more up about it. And, you know, you become homeschooled.
Right. That's right. But it's true. There's an insane number of online courses available now and webinars. You can have it in any format that you respond to. You could by reading or watching or listening. There's tons of ways, and it just needs to be an emphasis on doing that. I think, too, I have to say, I feel like recently, I'm not sure about ASID in your area. Are you active with ASID, Erika?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay. Because I feel like, particularly in the New Jersey area, I have noticed over the last year or two that a lot more of the ASID courses are focusing on the business side of design as opposed to just like, you know, going to a CEU at a tile place, which is valuable. Don't get me wrong. You need to know how to select and calculate and advise your client for that. But I feel like ASID in the last couple of years is upping their game in that regard. But
Our design center does a lot of business of design courses as well. It's not even so much a course, it's other designers who are doing it well. will come in and speak about what's working for them. And that's at ADAC, which is the Atlanta Decorative Arts Center.
Mm.
Yes. And so they've been doing some things like that. And I don't know if I can't say they're doing it because of me, but I know that I've written in the past about the need for that type of programming to be in place. And I think they've responded. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's requested that. So, it's all well and good to talk about somebody else's inspiration and what inspires them to do this, that, or the third. But I think there needed to be more meat.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because in all honesty, and I don't know, this may upset some people, but design is really subjective. I mean, it's influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions. I mean, so it's like I can see something that, experts really are going crazy about, and I think that is so ugly. And I've thought that to myself, but this is artistry. This is art.
That's right. Whereas numbers are not subjective. You're either
No, ma'am.
profitable or you're not, right?
That's right. You either are in the red or, you're making it happen.
That's it. That's terrific. You know what? We're going to take a little break here just so that we can hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with Erika. Our sponsor for today's episode is Cravat Inc., featuring CuratedCravat.com. CuratedCravat.com is a trade-only resource for all of your interior design needs, from furniture to accessories. Their platform is so comprehensive, offering the finest in furniture, floor covering, lighting, wall decor, bedding, and much more. Fabulous products that you won't find every day. With CuratedCravat.com, your business just got easier. The process is so simple and the results are unbeatable. Just design, click, and your items will be delivered right to you. You can also browse the many beautiful room designs which have been curated for you by esteemed interior designers such as Nate Berkus, Jonathan Adler, and Alexa Hampton, to name only a few. I use CuratedCravat.com for my clients, and I love the results. Remember, design, click, delivered with CuratedCravat.com by Cravat Inc. All righty, so we're back with Erika. Now, I want to turn the conversation now to something that I read on your website that I'm very curious. I can read it. I'm not an intelligent person, but I really want to know what it means. It says that you work close in branding with Home Depot, Home Decorators Collection, some of these national companies. What does that mean exactly? Are you doing licensing products with them? Tell us about that.
Okay, so what I'm doing with these brands are working closely with them on various campaigns. So if you think about their marketing departments and kind of they have push for each season, whatever kind of product it is, what kind of messaging they're trying to send out. And traditionally, we look at larger companies using a celebrity, okay, as a face for a campaign or for a product. But what they're doing now are using influencers in these individual industries. And so I think the influencers are the ones that the everyday people that you can relate to. Just as you said earlier, you felt as if you knew me
Right.
through my social media efforts. And so with that said, I partner with companies that I use personally. And I also make sure that these campaigns or pushes are something that I would even do myself prior to, sharing them with my readers. So what you're doing or what I'm doing in turn is helping them promote. So they are asking, me to, I guess, be like their, and I use the term celebrity very loosely.
But like a spokesperson for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And they call them either spokespersons, they're called them brand ambassadors.
Okay.
And so what it does is allows me to talk to you from a consumer standpoint as a friend to recommend a specific product. This is saying, hey, LuAnn, I'm recommending you check out Home Decorators Collection. This is what I've done a big promotion with them last year before last, where I used all of Home Depot and Home Decorators Collection products to redesign my living room. I mean, not my living room, my dining room, excuse me.
Oh.
And so, that whole thing was, hey, you can use Home Depot for more than just, screws and hammer. You can also buy a beautiful dining room table, and then you can buy this light fixture, and this is how you put this together. And so it was something that's still in place in my house today. And we were able to capture a total of I think 5 or 6 commercials that are aired on web TV. And these are people that have followed me, on the blog, or they follow my business, and they're able to see me alongside a larger brand, I think, which also established more credibility in your field,
Right.
to know that a company wants to put their name next to yours. And that says a lot to me as well, about the work that I'm doing. But it also lets me know that I'm a trusted voice in my respective area.
Yeah,
A home
definitely.
improvement
And
arena.
how did it begin? Did
So
you
they reach
seek it
out to
out?
me. No, they reach out to me. So I think what happens is, and this is even more important again, why you are very conscious about what you put out there in social media, because you have brands who are looking, to
Mm.
see if you're willing to, I'm sorry, if they're willing to take a risk on you,
Right,
you
right.
know,
They don't want to see
to,
about the Friday night party, and then it's
well,
like the
yeah, I
thing we
mean,
tell
because
just
they
tell our
spend
kids when they go to college, don't put it all out there.
Right. They spend millions of dollars every year building brand respect and recognition, and they're not going to take the gamble of putting their name next to someone who would tarnish that.
Right, right.
Okay.
And so did one approach and then from there the others rolled in, or was it
That's
like,
right. That's exactly what happens. You have one, it just takes one, and it takes a promotion to be done well. And because what it does, it lets the other brands know, oh, she's safe.
yeah,
That worked out really well. Let me look into this and see who she is. And so I think the next part of that becomes, and this is another reason why you have to be a business savvy person, is because you have to know what you're worth, because you're not doing any of this complimentary. There is, money paid,
right.
just like they would pay anybody else to be a face of a product. But if you don't know what you're worth, you won't get paid what you're worth.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it all has to start from the business side of it. This is not a hobby.
That's right. That's right. So here's the way that I look at it. So just because a reputable brand has come to me to ask me to do a promotion, it doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to jump at it, because guess what? You can spend that same amount of time promoting your own business to
Mm,
get, a direct return on that, because the people who've hired me to help push their product, the Home Depot product, aren't necessarily looking to hire me as an interior designer. They're do-it-yourselfers.
exactly. Right. It's a different
Okay.
market.
It's a different market.
Right.
So I had to decide what was in it for me to partner with them to do that. And if I can't see how it can be a mutually beneficial situation, because I don't need to just have my face on the video just to be on there, but what can it do ultimately for my business and for my brand as well? So, and is it worth my time? Because that was a huge time commitment. I think for doing the video alone, it was probably maybe 2 weeks, and these are like 8-hour days
Oh,
recording.
wow. So
Yeah,
basically the business is on hold for 2 weeks.
that's right. So you have to weigh all of those things. And I think we live in a society that's very hungry for fame, but you can't do that at the expense of your business. So you have to make sure that whatever compensation you expect will cover the time that you would have spent, doing business for yourself,
Creating
working
business for
your own
yourself.
business. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that brings me to another question then. And I was going to ask it in relation to the social media platform that you've created, but it ties in all together. So, like, for instance, I mentioned earlier in the discussion, you have a large number of followers on all of your platforms. How does it convert for you? What do you get direct clients from Instagram, or you get direct clients from House and not so much Instagram, but they find you? What do you,
Hmm.
because it's a big effort for somebody out
Yes.
there thinking about taking their 300 followers to 8,000 followers. That's not happening, overnight, and it's not happening once every 6 months. So if somebody's going to contemplate all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to dig in. I'm dedicating one day a week. I'm going to learn all this technology, and I'm going to sit and write great content.
Sure.
What's your payoff on it? What do you feel like your value you're getting from it?
Okay. So what this does is help me create multiple streams of income through my social media efforts. I do get clients because these channels help them to kind of vet me prior to even calling me. They feel like they already know me by the time I walk into their homes. So it gives these potential clients a chance to know me before I come into and to see what I can do as well before I come into their home. So that's one source of income. The brand partnerships, ambassadorships, spokesperson roles, that's another stream of income. Another one is writing. You mentioned House. I've written almost 200 articles for House.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and each of those articles have been compensated. I've written articles for Costco, their publication, and this is not anything about how to buy in bulk. This is all related to interior design. And so, being able to be present on social media opens you up for numerous opportunities to be paid for your knowledge beyond, just as an interior designer doing interior design work for individuals. It allows you to glean income from larger companies who need you for videos or quotes or whatever the case may be, or for you to contribute an article. Okay, then it also gives you a platform because if you're interested in at some point writing a book or taking all of this information that you've given or that I've given out since 2009, 2010 and breaking it down to books,
Right.
That gives me an opportunity to already have, a fan base in place or a follower base in place that are already, waiting for me to give them more. And I come out with this book, then, it's kind of selling itself. These people already know you.
Now that brings to mind, do you, you have all of these followers on all of these platforms. Are you also actively involved in collecting and making and growing an email list for yourself?
Yes. And so that happens through the blog.
Right.
And so, I think of just about every page you have an opportunity to sign up to be on this email list. And so what happens is those people get my blog post straight to their inbox. And I do not blog every day. And that's the other thing I used to, and you just can't do that.
Oh, I can't even imagine every day.
Yeah, no. So at best, I can put out a post. You can expect one at least twice a week from me.
Even that's ambitious with all the things on your plate.
It is. But I mean, here's the thing. I get inspired to write almost every single day. So I jot down notes constantly. And so what happens is I go back and that's, I told you I sit down on Wednesdays. I look at all the notes that I've put together and then I can see where an article is forming, and it's something that I didn't just write in one sitting. It's something that I've been working on over time.
Interesting.
And so I think when we don't force it, we have an outline or a framework to follow, but then we have some things that just kind of happen organically. And so it takes some of the pressure off you. And, you don't have to be screaming on every channel at the same time either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's interesting when you said that you were writing for House and Costco and so forth. Again, is that something that they sought you out or you pitched them?
All of these people have approached me. I have never pitched anybody anything.
And so that actually answers my question because if every one of these resources have come to you, then obviously that's the huge benefit of building a social media platform such as yours. Because it's like you just explained, you're getting all of these added benefits from it. Plus, let's go back to the whole thing that you're in business about, interior design. It's I think probably aside from all the monetization, other avenues, it's exactly as you said, your potential clients are getting a feel for who and what you are. And it's like having the meet and greet without your even being there.
That's right. And I have people say to me, I feel so strange, promoting myself and I feel like I'm bragging and this, that, the other. And I'm like, this is not a hobby.
Right.
I'm not an interior designer just because I need something to do.
Right. I have something to do.
I have plenty to do. This is a business for me. Yeah. And just as any other type of business, people won't know what the heck you're doing unless you tell them.
Yeah, it's like, 25 years ago, we used to put an ad in the paper and, nobody felt funny about that. You know what I mean? But the Instagram, the house and the Twitter, that's the ad in the paper now,
It is, and it's free.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it costs you time.
yeah.
Nothing is completely free. It's either time or money. My grandfather taught me that. But, which one do you have more of? If you
Yeah.
have more money, then hire somebody else to do it. If that's not what you want to spend your money on, then you have to make the time to do it yourself.
Yeah. Do you have other people working in your firm with you, Erika?
I do on occasions. Right now, I don't. I usually have at least one assistant, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I do not have one. And actually, my most recent assistant has now started his own interior design business.
Oh.
And so it's very rewarding to kind of see how you can sow into the lives of other people, because I didn't expect him to work with me and retire with me. That was the expectation, was for him to get on board, learn what I'm doing, and I share everything. So, I mean, because, it's my interior design business is like a child for me. It's something that I've grown and nurtured over time, and I'm very protective of it. And so, I have to find the right person to work with me in my business and work alongside me. And once you're in, you're in. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's another reason why you have to be, or I have to be so very organized, is because right now I am, personally the one that runs the show, but I also like to think of my contractors as my team members too. So if I say we, though it's just me right here in the office right now, I have a workroom. I've got, a painter. I've got carpenters. I've got flooring installers. There are all these other tradesmen come into play, just like they did when I worked for, the design build industry, that come together to produce this final product. So I guess, I am kind of going back on what I'm saying. No, I'm not a one-woman show in that sense, but because I do have a team behind me of other small business owners that we come together for this finished product.
Yeah, and I find that the designers that I've worked with over the years, the ones that have specifically go-to core tradespeople I'm thinking of one designer. She opened her business, I would say it's probably about maybe 30 years ago now. And we have been her window treatment fabricator for the entire time that she's in business. And what's interesting is on every project that you go on, it's the same contractor, it's the painter, it's the wall coverer. And
That's right.
It's like we're all our own separate business, but we are her team.
That's
and
right.
It's really good, because what I know is that I need lots of information from her on a specific level for each individual project. But there's also this understanding of just knowing
what she wants,
exactly,
what she's expecting. Yes,
right. Like she doesn't have to detail like if she wants it lined or interlined. She doesn't have to detail if she wants double turned 4-inch side hems instead of 1.5-inch side hems. I know all that stuff. It's just okay. What are we actually doing on this job? So that's
right.
it. Because she's developed that with I know with me and with everybody else. Half of the details are inherently understood by all of us. And then what happens is her projects reach such a really insane level of beauty and production, because she's not really trying to say, don't forget to do this with the drape. She has to focus. She only has to focus on the most amazing parts of it, and really make sure that we live up to where her vision is going.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding to be a part of that. What's that? Say that again. I'm sorry.
Projects, I'm sure, are done on time.
Oh yeah, she runs a tight ship.
Yeah. Well, see, the other thing I tell people too, I said, they say, oh, it's just so hard to find good people. But when you find your good people, you have to treat them really well. And I like to think that the people that I have working with me on my team, that I do just that. If I know that I have a full day of installation, I'm making sure that I have lunch on site for them.
Oh.
It's to keep them nourished. And plus, you don't want anybody to stop working. But But they've got to eat. They got
No,
to
it's
eat.
true. Yeah.
You know.
And that's very, very nice of you. You know what I mean? Like, I would, it's not that it's never happened for us and our team, but it would certainly not be something that we expect. But I do see the value in it from both sides. You know, the appreciation from the vendor, but for you, they're not like now driving a half hour to lunch and then having lunch for a half hour and then driving back to the project. It's like sit down and eat for 20 minutes and let's get back to work.
But see, it helps the people who are working as well because they could possibly go to another job after mine. You know, if they didn't have to waste that time, you know, going out and doing all of this thing. But it just becomes a cost of doing business for me. You know, I build that in kind of, you know, as a cost of doing business, and it just helps everything go smoothly. And if I need a special favor, I don't call them for those very often. But when I really need something, my people are there for me. And, you know, I just don't ever take that for granted. And I tell them that all the time, how much I appreciate them. But in telling them, you also have to show people as well.
And it goes a long way. I mean, as a vendor for many interior designers, it goes a long way when you feel as a vendor that you're understood and appreciated by the person hiring you. There's no question. And it's the truth. There's certain times when you get a phone call from that designer and what they need from you, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I don't know how I can do that. And then you just go, well, yeah, but we're going to move heaven and earth. Let's figure it out.
Right.
You know?
That's right. We're going to do this for her.
Yes. Because, you know, the ones that value you and appreciate you.
Or him. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Or him. Exactly. Absolutely. Totally true. So, you know what? I think that I really want for people listening to go to your website, and you'll give us that information in a few minutes. And I've tried to express what I've learned by following you and your social media, and the respect that I have for you that I've gained by watching your social media. And I really want other people to experience that too, because it's clear that you are running a business first and a design firm second, and that together it's an amazing little empire you've got going on there in Atlanta. And I really do congratulate you.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. Yeah. And it helps me to know that I'm reaching I'm accomplishing my goal, because that is what I want you to see.
Yeah. I have one question for you. You've shared a lot of advice. There's no doubt about that. But if you had to say one last thing, you know, as something to say to somebody that's starting out and just do this, think about that, please consider this. Is there something that comes to mind?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things that come to mind. So I'll try to narrow it down for you. But interior design, unless you are producing a product, you have a product line or something like that, it's not something you're going to get rich off of. So a lot of it's profitable and you can definitely make a living, but you're not going to get rich off of being an interior designer. Unless, of course, like I said, you have your own product lines and things like that. So what that means is that you have to really love working with people.
Right.
You really have to be able to be a good communicator, because most of my clients are all very different and they communicate in different ways and their backgrounds are different. And so you have to be able to be fluid and adjust. You can't take anything personally. You can't have thin skin, because you are in a service industry. You know, you are a service person, and this is a luxury service. So it doesn't mean that you don't make people treat you with respect, but there's sometimes where, I guess it depends on the person that you have to show them how to treat you, you know, but still, again, you're a professional. So that's the other thing. Get around people who you can learn from and who you can help as well, because there's nothing better than being in a mutually beneficial relationship. It may not always be 50-50, but at least sometimes it is, you know what I mean? Or sometimes you might be getting more, that other person might be getting more, but just make sure that you're in a reciprocal relationship and talk to other people, ask questions, reach out for help, and you will find the one. But make sure you also help yourself too.
Right.
There's so many resources out there. A simple Google search can sometimes answer your questions, so don't waste people's time. Let's see, what else could I say? You will be a therapist, you know, and a trusted person for your clients. And it does not mean you go out and you repeat to anybody what your client says to you. That's a confidential relationship between you and your client. All of the things that I just mentioned are character type pieces of advice about, having character and being a person of character, because the main thing is that you want to gain somebody's trust. I mean, that's it, period,
Right.
point blank. That doesn't mean you have to do anything perfect, but if they trust you and you're being honest about things, they can also trust you to fix something if something goes wrong. So trust, I think, is the first and most important thing, the most important thing that I think a person can have in the business or as a business professional. Trust.
I agree. You have to be able to convey to each person that you work with, both the client and like we discussed, your other vendors, that you are a person of your word and that you're reliable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because nothing happens beyond nobody wants to work with you if you might be that person, but if you can't convey it, you see, if you're not that person, well then, just stop right there. But if you are, you do need to consider, how do you convey it? Like you said, you can't just tell your vendors you appreciate them. You have to show them. And it's the same with your clients. You have to show them you appreciate them, based on holding their confidences and respecting their budget and treating
transparency.
Yes.
Transparency. Yes.
Yeah. Terrific. Well, I really, really thank you so much for sharing your information with us today. And as I said earlier, I definitely encourage everybody to go to check out everything that you're doing. And I'm going to tell everybody out there that's really not engaging in social media at a high level yet, please don't be intimidated when you see what Erika is accomplishing and then knowing that she has 5 children, a husband, and a business. But maybe try and be inspired by it and maybe attack one thing that she's doing so well. So before you leave, would you please tell us where people could find you and look and see all the different things that you're doing?
Sure. You can go to my business site, which is erikaward.com. That's ERIKAWARD. There is a link to my blog, which is called Blue Label Bungalow. And all my social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Twitter, are all Mrs. Erika Ward.
That's awesome. Erika, again, truly thank you so much. I appreciate the value that you've brought to all of us today. And I know it's going to be helpful to colleagues out there. Thank you.
I sure hope so. And thank you so much, LuAnn, for having me today.
All righty. Okay, so we barely touched the tip of the iceberg here. Erika has much to teach us about blogging, branding, marketing, and networking. The takeaways from our discussion are many, but the one thing we learned is Erika definitely attributes the success of her firm, or should I say, her mini empire, to her expertise and knowledge in business management. Her message to us is, educate yourself in this area. Do everything you can to broaden and enhance your business acumen. When you do, you will have the proper foundation to grow a profitable business. Once you have a solid business foundation, then you can explore your talent, create fantastic spaces for your clients, and explode your interior design business. Erika also discussed identifying your transferable skills for profitability. For your free PDF on how to do this, go to www.windowworks-nj.com/Erika and click on the Things I Learned from Erika Ward. I'm so proud to say that our podcast is sponsored by Cravat Inc., featuring curatedcravat.com. You know, I've been a Cravat customer since 1984, and I just can't say enough great things about Cravat Inc., and now there's curatedcravat.com. At curatedcravat.com, they work so hard to source high-quality items for you and your clients. And they really do make it easy for you to find that unique piece to complete your interior design projects. You know what my favorite part is? It's trade only. That's right. They got your back at Cravat Inc. Visit curatedcravat.com today. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Niagara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNiagara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.